West Papua solidarity groups in New Zealand are calling on the government to register its concerns with Indonesia in light of a disturbing video showing security authorities in Papua torturing a civilian. In the video, which has been viewed by RNZ Pacific, an Indigenous Papuan man with his hands tied behind his back has been placed in an open-fuel drum filled with water. He's being kicked, punched and sliced with a knife by a group of men, some of whom are wearing Indonesian military uniforms. West Papua Action Aotearoa spokesperson Catherine Delahanty says New Zealand must speak out against ongoing human rights abuses in Papua. She spoke with Koroi Hawkins about the incident.
Oh, this is one of the most horrible things that I've ever watched, and I think it's really important that we don't become immune to what torture and violence in West Papua state violence looks like. It sickened me and everybody in our network. We're sickened by this because we know it's not a one-off, and we know that this is being used by the Indonesians as a deterrent for people to stand up for their independence. When you see the individual paying the price for the human rights abuses, and you actually see that, it's absolutely horrific.
What calls are you making to the New Zealand government off the back of this?
Well, we're calling on the New Zealand government to speak up about this. The very least they can do is to challenge Indonesia about this incident and its context, which is the ongoing state military violence against civilians. And I think that's our first point. And we're also calling on New Zealand government to restate a commitment to the United Nations Human Rights Commissioner visit to West Papua that was agreed by the Pacific Island Forum a long time ago, but which Indonesia continues to resist. So because we have a new government, we need the relatively new foreign minister, who's very experienced in connecting the Pacific, to stand up and support that call.
On the statement that we've seen from the Komnas, is just for my edification, that's the National Human Rights Commission for Indonesia, right?
Yes.
It's called for a transparent and fair investigation in that statement. How likely is that to happen?
Well, it's highly unlikely. The Indonesian strategy around this, because these are not accidental events by random undisciplined soldiers. This is a strategy of deterrence through violence and through basically state torture and murder. And so the likelihood of the perpetuators of this investigating themselves and coming up with a different conclusion than what I've just described is extremely unlikely. We have not seen accountability for some of the most horrific crimes that have been committed. We have not seen a sustained accountability for the human rights of West Papuan people and by Indonesia since the 1960s. And so it's good that they've called for it because it's their country and they need to hold their government to account. But right now, I just cannot see that as a strategy leading to justice for this poor young man, his family, his village, and his nation.
These videos surface every now and again, as you mentioned, but there is a lot that doesn't, isn't there?
Absolutely. This is a daily, weekly, monthly occurrence. There's small and large violence against citizens. There's bombing of villages. There's a wall of silence that actually prevents this from getting to media. One of the safeguards, if you like, for finding out anything has been the cell phone, because it means that the people in the highlands can actually film. Somebody filmed what happened to this young man. Somebody posted it. So it's harder for the Indonesians to keep everything secret. But nevertheless, despite the emergence over time of these hideous incidents and all that we do not see, it seems to be almost impossible to get, particularly the New Zealand and Australian governments and others, to do anything to hold Indonesia to any real account over this issue. Now, the previous Foreign Minister, Nana Mahuta, made an interesting statement when she was talking about issues of human rights abuse, that she was agnostic on where they came from and that she intended to challenge them wherever they came from. And I think she tried to do that. And I would love someone to ask our new Foreign Minister, are you prepared to say that? Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared for there to be consequences, irrespective of the diplomatic relationship, that challenge this utter human rights abuse in our neighbourhood?
Since this interview was conducted, the Indonesian Embassy in New Zealand has responded to RNZ Pacific via email, confirming authorities are investigating the incidents recorded in the video. It said the incident is deeply regrettable And the government of Indonesia is committed to its long-standing policy of respecting and promoting human rights, as well as its strict policy of zero impunity for misconduct by security forces. The embassy said it was unable to comment further as the investigation is ongoing.